Hey everyone, and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a very big lineup of news to brief you all on today. Today's date is September 29th, 2025, and it's Monday. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and I hope you're all having a wonderful week so far. We have so much big news to cover with this war update. We're going to jump right into a major report out of Russia's Belgorod Oblast as overnight Ukrainian Himars reportedly attacked a major thermal power plant, and apparently a large majority of the Belgorod Oblast is out of power inside of Russia. Let's talk about this report here on your screen. Thousands of residents of Russia's Belgorod Oblast left without power. Ukrainian Himars rockets reportedly struck a thermal power plant near the Russian city of Belgorod on September 28th. Power outages were reported across the Belgorod Oblast following the attack. So there's going to be a picture coming out. Apparently before the attack, there was some sort of explosion that took place at this thermal power plant. Soon after, it got leveled by what is being reported Himars rockets on this facility. And what we're hearing today, up to 300,000 people could potentially be without power. I've got video footage coming out showing massive power outages in the Belgorod Oblast. This is going to be just over the border from Ukraine's Kyiv region. We'll be talking more about that. I've got video footage of this thermal power plant getting leveled by these rockets. Also, we have reports Ukraine struck a defense plant producing key electrical connectors and wiring systems for the Russian military in the Bryansk Oblast. That's going to be just over the border from Ukraine's Cherniv region on the northern side of Ukraine. Reports of a major defense plant being hit there. Also, a Russian Mi-8 helicopter has been recently shot down by a Ukrainian FPV drone. I've got some crazy video footage coming out from there. $500 drone shooting down a $16 million Mi-8 helicopter. Also, reports of drones further invading more NATO nations' airspace over airports and sensitive military sites. So these drone incursions into NATO airspace is still ongoing for a week now. I've got some major updates for you guys on that. And then also, ever since last night, a massive NATO air mission ongoing inside of Europe. Many aerial refueling aircraft departed the U.S. last night towards Europe. Yeah, we had about 12 or so, maybe more, KC-135 Stratotankers. These are aerial refuelers that were leaving the U.S. heading for Europe. And we haven't seen anything like this for months, ever since the last time Israel attacked Iran. So I wonder what is going on. There's a lot of reports coming out of different aircraft in the skies over Europe right now. I know there's a lot of drone activity, so maybe it's for that. But, we're definitely on the verge of something big happening if we're seeing all this movement of these aircraft. So there's just so much to cover, guys. We're going to go ahead and start jumping into this. Let me start sharing this information. We're going to try to move through this as quick as possible, because as you can see, I have a lot of tabs open. There's just so much information that I want to try to cram into this video for you guys today. So let's start off with drone bomber. Approximate flight routes of our UAVs. Red arrow indicates directions of strike UAVs. Blue arrow indicates directions of jet-powered UAVs. All route information is based on Russian sources. Here's the attack into Russia last night. We can definitely see in the Belgorod Oblast and the Bryansk Oblast some of the major areas that were being attacked. Belgorod's going to be where that thermal power plant was located. And then also the Bryansk Oblast is where we had that defense facility producing wiring systems and electrical connectors for the Russian military. So these are going to be the two major reports we have today, Belgorod and Bryansk. We also had some drones heading down to Rostov and Krasnodar Krai and also Crimea overnight. But unfortunately, no reports out of those areas aside from maybe we do have reports of a possible strike on a oil depot down here in Feodosia that's going to be on the eastern side of the Crimean Peninsula. I'll show you guys videos coming out from there today as well. Let's jump into our first video here from Ozone Defender. Major power and service outages tonight across the western Russian city of Belgorod, following a drone and/or missile attack by Ukraine against a Luch thermal power station, likely in response to last night's large-scale attack by Russia against homes and other civilian targets in the capital of Kyiv and throughout Ukraine. So yeah, this is what Ozone Defender believes, that Ukraine carried out this strike due to Russia's massive attack on civilians over the weekend, going from Saturday into Sunday. I'll show you guys pictures of Kyiv coming out today soon as well. Take a look at this.
Да ну нахуй! Разъебывают, пидорас! Да ну нахуй, пизда, Бурыч, смотри! Охуеть! Куда мы попали? Вот это аттракцион, блядь! Да ну нахуй! Нас остановили! Да ну нахуй!
All right, so as we can see in this video, the thermal power plant located over here in the Belgorod Oblast being completely leveled by Ukrainian rockets here. Some people were saying it could have been drones, but it's being widely reported today, even mainstream news out of Ukraine reporting that this was allegedly a Himars strike. It looks like some sort of rocket or missile attack to me. It does not look like drones. Typically, we could see the drones if they were to strike the facility, but massive attack on this thermal power plant today. Here's a report now from Kyiv Independent. Ukrainian Himars reportedly strike thermal power plant in Russia's Belgorod Oblast. Power outages are reported across Belgorod Oblast following the attack that struck one of the substations, Russian media reported. Yeah, there was also reports that some substations were also being attacked on top of this thermal power plant. So I think there was multiple energy facilities that Ukraine was going after. And again, I think this was Ukraine directly responding to this massive attack on civilians over the weekend. We did not have any reports if there was like energy sites being targeted inside of Ukraine, but maybe it just wasn't reported and maybe it actually happened, and that's why Ukraine is directly responding in this way, because we have heard recently from Volodymyr Zelensky that Ukraine would be responding directly to any attacks on energy infrastructure inside of their territory. They would do the same thing back to Russia as well. So that's what I'm thinking. It's very possible maybe we had energy sites inside of Ukraine being attacked over the weekend. Here's video now from Ozone Defender. Total blackout in the western Russian city of Belgorod, which has a population of around 339,978. Okay, almost 340,000 people living in the Belgorod Oblast. Take a look at this video. Right, towards the beginning, we could hear one loud explosion. Most likely, we had an electrical substation being attacked by Ukraine. As I reported to you just a moment ago, there was electrical substations on top of that thermal power plant that was being attacked. So massive reports today of electrical outages inside the city of Belgorod, affecting a lot of people. Here's video now from EMPR Media. Belgorod residents aren't used to driving without traffic lights. Now they'll have that chance during blackouts. Yeah, this was video showing some of the traffic lights inside of the city of Belgorod that were going out, causing some accidents. Looks like we had a small collision here between two vehicles, as people don't know how to clearly drive through an intersection with the stoplights not working. So these two people ended up crashing into each other. Now another update from Andriy Yermak. This is going to be the head of the presidential office out of Ukraine. He works right under Volodymyr Zelensky, the president. He says a strictly symmetrical response to Russia's strikes on infrastructure to their terror will accelerate the path to ending the war. The price for Russia will be high. It will feel the consequences of its military strategy, which is based on killing civilians. This is no longer 2022 with aerial terror. It will be better if Russia stopped the war. So with a statement like this, he says right here, a strictly symmetrical response to Russia's strikes on infrastructure. He reported this just yesterday, September 28th, 10:47 p.m. So this was like a few hours after we heard about these strikes onto the Belgorod thermal power plant. So I'm wondering if, again, maybe there was some sort of strike inside of Ukraine that wasn't being reported on energy sites. And we've been hearing recently from Zelensky, also the president of Ukraine, he's been warning that Russia wants to knock out the power for Ukraine completely as we get into the winter. So this is Ukraine's way of saying, if you attack our energy sites, we're just going to do the same thing back to you. So don't even think about it. And, letting Russia know that they will respond with force if this continues. Now, it was in technical, horrifying images coming out from Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, this morning after a massive Russian drone and missile attack overnight in the Kyiv district of Borshavgovka. Residential neighborhood was severely damaged. So this came out on the 27th, okay? The nighttime, right around 11 p.m. my time, okay? So this would have been the early morning on the 28th of yesterday on Sunday inside of Kyiv. And we had this entire block just wiped out here, most likely from Russian drone attacks. So as we can see, there was direct strikes here on civilian infrastructure, people's homes being destroyed, cars set on fire here. Look at this whole apartment block here just completely leveled by Russian drones, most likely. Then here's a few more updates regarding the attack over the weekend as well. From Anton Gerashenko, Russia attacked Ukraine with nearly 500 drones and over 40 missiles, including Kinzhal missiles last night. The attack lasted more than 12 hours. The main targets were Kyiv and Kyiv region, Zaporizhia, Khmelnytsky region, Sumy region, Odessa region. 4 people were reportedly killed in Kyiv, including a 12-year-old girl. Across Ukraine, at least 40 people were injured, among them children. As a result of the Russian strike in the capital, the building of the Institute of Cardiology was damaged. A bread production facility, an automobile tire plant, private houses, apartment buildings, and other civilian infrastructure were under attack. Yeah, look at that, guys. All critical civilian infrastructure, even a cardiology building or an institute for cardiology to help people out with their hearts. Major damage here inside of Ukraine. Look at all this destruction here. Firefighters showing up on the scenes in multiple different districts and cities and regions out of Ukraine. Massive damage here. Looks like we had potentially a warehouse that was struck, and some of these trucks here caught on fire used to transport things around Ukraine. Absolutely insane. Yeah, it was a huge attack over the weekend from the Russians. Now, Special Kirsten Kath, the Ukrainian Navy reported that a missile strike was carried out against the Russian Elektrodetl plant in Kharkiv. 4 missiles were launched from a distance of 240 kilometers. The plant is located 115 kilometers from the border. Since the statement came from the Navy, it indicates that the strike was carried out with Neptune missiles. Yeah, it's reported that we had 4 Neptune cruise missiles that were being fired from Ukraine directly into the Bryansk Oblast, striking this Elektrodetl plant. Okay, this is going to be a defense plant we're talking about that produces the electrical connectors and wiring. Here's more information now. It was in technical. Overnight, Ukrainian forces successfully struck, Russia's Kharashevsky electronics plant in Bryansk. The plant, now heavily ablaze, produces key electrical connectors for over 1,500 Russian defense industry manufacturers. There's pictures coming out showing the major damage and a fire that broke out over here on this defense plant, reportedly hit by up to 4 Neptune cruise missiles. Okay, very big news. And typically we don't see Neptune missiles, or at least reports of Neptune missiles, attacking these kinds of areas. A lot of time when Ukraine uses Neptunes, that's usually down in Crimea. So some people were saying that Ukraine is making a major breakthrough in technology right now, and also the advancement in their missile program. They're producing more of these because they're now able to start using these in other parts of Russia. So yeah, that could be very big news, considering that it's very rare. We don't get a lot of reports of Neptune missiles being used in some of these regions, like the Bryansk Oblast. Now, no reports a Russian helicopter was taken out by an FPV drone of Ukraine's 59th Brigade of the Unmanned System Forces, according to the Army commander, Robert Magyar Brovdy. He's going to be the commander of Ukraine's Unmanned System Forces. It is claimed to be an Mi-28, but preliminary analysis suggests it's either an Mi-8 or Mi-17. Yeah, more people are reporting today that this was actually an Mi-8 helicopter that was taken down. The video pauses a lot. I'm not sure why it does that. Maybe just kind of let you see that this is a helicopter that was crashing and burning to the ground after it was shot down allegedly by a $500 Ukrainian FPV drone. There's actually another helicopter just flying by right there. So this one crashed and burned. They could see it getting hit right there as it was flying, then eventually went down. We've got more information on that here now. EMPR Media, a North Korean general could have been on board the downed Mi-8. Yeah, look at this picture here. This looks like it's possibly a North Korean soldier, or some people are saying it's a North Korean general that was aboard this aircraft right before he got hit by this FPV drone. This is the snapshot from the video footage from this FPV drone that allegedly slammed into this helicopter. So yeah, it is being reported that this is an Mi-8 transport helicopter that was attacked and hit. So you can definitely see right there that looks like possibly a North Korean soldier or general that was aboard this aircraft. And when it zooms in on his face there, yeah, to me it kind of does look like it could be a North Korean. Definitely doesn't look like a Russian, but who knows? You guys can let me know what you think there. Here's another picture now. Special Kirsten Katz, a beautiful sight of a falling Russian Mi-8 shot down by FPV drone. There's a very clear photo right there. You can definitely tell it is a helicopter. And to me, that does look like an Mi-8 that was shot down. So if that is confirmed, right around $16 million lost to Russia's aviation. We've been seeing a lot of these Mi-8s getting taken out recently at airfields down in Crimea. Very big news. Now Bliskovka. Explosions reported in temporarily occupied Crimea. Preliminary reports indicate a strike on an oil depot in Feodosia. So yeah, Feodosia going to be very close to the Kerch Strait down on the eastern side of the Crimean Peninsula. And reports of a possible strike down here. This has not been confirmed yet, but there was a major fire at the oil depot over here, which has been attacked by Ukrainian Neptune missiles in the past. I want to say roughly about a year ago, we did report that. So here you can see a major fire. You can actually see some of these oil storage tanks. There's three of them right there, even a fourth one, and possibly next to that is a major fire. So not sure exactly what caught fire here yet, but it looks like possibly some oil infrastructure at this oil depot caught fire, maybe due to a strike from Ukraine. Now, Max 25. Komsomolsk on Amur, a warehouse near the Amur Combine, is on fire. Amur is a Rosreserve, a facility designed for the storage of material resources and strategic reserves. Yes, we had a major warehouse fire also being reported at far eastern Russia, close to like North Korea. This is way out near like Sakhalin too, where a lot of these earthquakes have been taking place inside of Russia, near the Pacific Ocean. So I'm not sure exactly what caused this fire, but some sort of warehouse here did catch fire. Is it possible maybe it was some sort of sabotage from Ukraine? Very possible. Maybe if it has links to the Russian military, we weren't able to confirm that yet. But a major fire on a warehouse reported here in Russia's Far East. Now let's talk about these drone incursions inside of Europe. Here's a report from Vicegrad 24. Breaking unknown drones spotted over Norway, Sweden, and Denmark right now. Danish fighter jets have been scrambled. 2 flights to 2 different airports in Norway have been diverted. You can see the date here, September 28th. This was yesterday, about 3:28 p.m. my time. This would have been later into the evening, probably closer to midnight, even in some areas of Europe. So yeah, lots of reports of different countries. Again, a lot of these same ones actually, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. Those are some of the top nations in NATO that appear to be experiencing a lot of these drones flying around over there. So it says here 2 flights to 2 different airports in Norway have been diverted. So there was some closures of airspace and some of these flights having to be diverted due to these drones. Here's a report now from Vicegrad 24 breaking. Unknown drones reported over Karlskrona, Sweden. Sweden's main naval base is located there. Meanwhile, a large Russian cargo vessel is sailing just off the coast of Karlskrona. Yeah, here's video footage coming out, allegedly showing some sort of object in the skies over here, potentially over the Karlskrona naval base located in Sweden. That's going to be in like the southern side of Sweden. And we have had numerous reports over the last week of drones being spotted near this naval base. So what is going on over here, guys? It's definitely getting very scary seeing all these drone sightings right at a time where we have major escalation between NATO and Russia. Could a war break out at some point? You know, is Russia preparing some sort of attack over here with these drones? We don't know what is going on, but it's definitely very mysterious with this whole situation that's been ongoing for nearly a week now. Here's another report. Vicegrad 24 in Romania, an unidentified drone caused a temporary shutdown of Bucharest's Henry Coanda International Airport. Authorities have launched an investigation to identify the drone operator and determine possible legal measures. So yeah, apparently even Romania experiencing some sort of unidentified drone that was over one of their international airports, the Bucharest Henry Coanda, if I'm saying that right. Okay, so this is far away from where a lot of these regions of Europe are reporting these drones. This is Romania right next to Ukraine, more south from some of the countries like Denmark, Sweden, Norway. So very far away from there. Now there's reports of drones over here in these areas at this airport. So this is really starting to spread like crazy. Here's another report. Jørgen in Norway. A passenger flight was diverted due to a drone. Russia could completely shut down Europe's air traffic with cheap drones because Europe isn't fighting back. The incident occurred yesterday evening. A Norwegian passenger flight was en route from Oslo to the town of Bardufoss in the north of the country. The airport in Tromsø was temporarily closed due to the sighting of a drone. Earlier on Sunday, drones were spotted further south within the drone-restricted flight zone near Brønnøysund Airport in Nordland. One plane was diverted to another airport. Hopefully I'm pronouncing the names of these right. I might be completely butchering those. But yeah, Norway reporting passenger flights being diverted over here due to these drone sightings. So Norway's been one of those top countries really reporting a lot of closure of airspace and flights being diverted at major airports due to these drone sightings. So yeah, it was going on inside of Norway again last night. Then check this out from Vicegrad 24. Denmark has received NATO military assistance following a series of drone incidents. According to Bloomberg, Germany, France, and Sweden have deployed troops, electronic warfare systems, radars, helicopters to Copenhagen. In addition, NATO has stationed the German frigate Hamburg. Earlier, broadcaster N-TV reported that the Bundeswehr would help secure the upcoming EU summit in Denmark amid the drone-related incidents. Here's a report from Bloomberg today. Denmark calls in NATO help for EU summit after drone attacks. Yeah, so lots of support going into Denmark right now. Denmark's one of the major countries, excuse me, that I would say is reporting these drone sightings the most. Multiple airports having to be shut down at times over the last week. So we've got a lot of different equipment, NATO equipment that is flowing into Denmark right now to also protect this major upcoming EU summit in Denmark very soon. So that's good to see that NATO is responding in some way, sending equipment over there to help out. Now let's talk about these aerial refuelers that were leaving from the U.S. last night. As I mentioned earlier, Ocean Defender, roughly a dozen U.S. Air Force KC-135 RT Stratotanker aerial refueling tankers are currently up from a number of air bases across the United States, heading northeast and preparing to cross the Atlantic towards Europe, with several appearing to be en route to RAF Mindenhall in England. Yeah, look at this. There was a lot of these just taking off out of nowhere in the middle of the night last night. And again, the last time we saw something like this was right before we were going to see Israel attacking Iran. If you guys remember, where that it was pretty much a weeks long campaign where Israel was just bombing the heck out of Iran. We had lots of sensitive military sites being attacked, nuclear sites, and then that's soon after when the U.S. went down there with their B-52 bombers allegedly and blew up a lot of the major nuclear sites to stop Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. There's been a lot of talk recently that potentially the war could break back out between Israel and Iran again soon. I'll show you a report on that, so I'm not sure if that's related, or is this something going on inside of Europe with all these sightings of these drones? Is this thing expected to get worse? That's why these Stratotankers are showing up over here, because I'm sure there's a lot of other fighter aircraft that are also escorting these fuel tankers over here as well. So definitely a huge NATO policing air mission ongoing. Now here's another one from Ocean Defender. Busy day today over Eastern Europe with a number of tracked as well as untracked U.S. and NATO command and control, surveillance, and aerial refueling assets up over the Baltics and Poland, including a NATO E-3A Sentry airborne early warning and control, or AEW&C aircraft up near the border between Poland and Ukraine. So we've got like AWACS intelligence planes, very busy over here. We saw this several times last week as well, especially over Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. We had some also circling off the coast of Kaliningrad late last week as well. So they're really monitoring this area heavily. We know that if a war breaks out, these are going to be the frontline nations here. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but there is a lot of air activity over here, especially with AWACS planes, these intelligence planes, Stratotankers, lots of aircraft flying around over here monitoring the airspace of these Baltic nations, including Poland. So let me know what you guys think on that. Why do you think there's so much air activity going on over here right now? But this has been reported multiple times over the last week. Now check this out. Megatron Ron breaking. Israel and the U.S. are preparing to attack Iran once again. Russian news agency TASS. So that's state news out of Russia. They're reporting that allegedly the U.S. and Israel are preparing to hit Iran again. There have been some reports, I believe, out of Iran stating that apparently their nuclear program is getting back on track. They're starting to produce more nuclear material to head towards building a nuclear bomb. So I'm not sure if the U.S. is planning to go and strike them again. Trump has said in the past that they would attack Iran again many more times if needed, however many times they need to stop Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. So yeah, there's a lot of talk right now that potentially this war could pick back up between Iran and Israel, and the U.S. might get involved to strike them again. Maybe that could be the case, but yeah, this is what Russian news was reporting here just recently. Now, Blitzkowka, Ukraine will receive 2 more Patriot systems by the end of the year. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius announced systems will be provided with Norway's support. The minister also emphasized the need for closer cooperation between Ukraine and Europe's defense industries to rapidly scale up arms production and ensure sustainable assistance. So good news to hear right here. Norway, along with Germany, going to be providing some Patriot systems for Ukraine. So apparently they'll be receiving 2 more of these by the end of the year. Very good news to hear, reported by the German Defense Minister, Boris Pistorius, today. Now, as a defender, President Donald J. Trump is now planning to attend this week's unprecedented last-minute meeting of all flag officers in the U.S. Armed Forces at Marine Corps Base Quantico in Virginia. Ordered last week by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, all roughly 900 one-star generals, admirals, and above are required to attend the meeting, despite many being stationed at bases across the world, including the Indo-Pacific, Europe, and the Middle East, with Hegseth reportedly planning to speak to military leaders about the warrior ethos and the administration's plan to transition from the Department of Defense to the Department of War. Yeah, so I reported this to you guys last week. Pete Hegseth calling on all these top generals and admirals of the Navy and military for the United States to show up over here for a major meeting in Quantico, Virginia. And a lot of people are speculating what's going on. Are we about to go to war? What's happening over here? But apparently Trump is also going to be speaking there. So it looks like something very major. I mean, it's being reported in the news that all they're going to talk about is just, some major changes to the military and whatnot. But all these generals showing up at the same time, and think about the danger here also. Imagine some foreign adversaries that might want to strike this location. Hopefully that never be the case, but that could be a disaster and knock out the top chain of command for the United States, considering they're all meeting in the same location inside of Virginia. So hopefully we don't see anything like that happening. But yeah, a lot of people are speculating behind this. What's going on with this? What's all the fuss behind all these generals being called up for this major meeting? And what exactly are they going to be talking about that most likely many of us will not be told about? Let me know what you think on that. Now, World Source News 24/7 breaking. Peskov says Putin to deliver major speech next week. Yeah, this was also reported from the Kremlin spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, saying that Putin is going to be delivering a huge speech coming up. I don't know if it's this week or next week. It says next week, but it's already Monday. This came out last night on Sunday, so not sure if we'll be seeing that this week or maybe coming next week, but apparently Putin is going to be delivering some sort of major speech. Isn't that interesting? They're bringing up this speech all at the same time, while this week we're having this major meeting between all these top generals from the U.S. military, and Trump's going to be there too. Now, Max 25. Putin signed a decree on the beginning of the autumn draft to the Russian army. As part of this draft, it is planned to recruit 135,000 people to the Russian armed forces. Okay, so this is pretty normal from what I understand. There's like several times a year that Russia, or at least Vladimir Putin signs a decree to bring more Russia soldiers into the military. So 135,000 they're going to be calling up for recruiting into the Russian military here coming up to this autumn. So this was signed today. Just want to let you know about that. Now, Vicegrad 24 breaking. Ukraine will receive its first Swedish fourth-generation Gripen fighter jets. Deputy Defense Minister Ukraine, Gavriluk, announced additional deliveries of F-16s and French Mirage jets are also expected. So this is very big news. Ukraine's been waiting to get some of these Swedish fourth-generation Gripen fighter jets. Here's pictures of them right now. Apparently, Ukraine's going to be receiving at least one or two of these, maybe some more. Yeah, these come from Sweden. These are very advanced fighter jets. Will be great for the Ukrainian Air Force on top of the F-16s, the French Mirage jets. They'll be getting more of those apparently as well, and they've already got some of those right now with their arsenal. So very good news to see. Now, Max 25, we are preparing a technological headquarters, which will be largely dedicated to Ukrainian long-range capabilities, namely the production of our drones and missiles, says Zelensky. Yesterday, the president devoted considerable time to communicating with manufacturers. So just like I mentioned earlier with these Neptune missiles that Ukraine is now striking inside the Bryansk region, we don't typically see that. So it makes me think that Ukraine is scaling up production of a lot of different missiles right now, because we have been seeing more missiles being used recently by Ukraine. We typically see a lot of drone attacks, but more and more often now we're seeing missiles being used. So apparently they are preparing a technological headquarters that is going to be dedicated to long-range capabilities in the production of drones and missiles. So that means they're going to be producing more of these, according to Volodymyr Zelensky. So that is good news to see there. Now, military news UA. Zelensky responded to Lukashenko's very good proposal to end the war with Russia. He lives in his own world, Zelensky says. He built it that way, isolated himself. He has been living for 3 decades in a house that he built, but this house is the size of a country. But I want him to remember that his country is independent. He's in his own world, but Putin sometimes visits and they chat. 2 old grandfathers, it's hard to comment. He actually called them old men. Earlier, Lukashenko said he had discussed with Putin a very good proposal for a peaceful settlement, which was supposedly on the table. He said that Zelensky should agree to terms that were favorable to him so as not to lose Ukraine. This was Zelensky explaining that apparently. So basically shooting down the idea of agreeing to any proposal that Alexander Lukashenko, the president of Belarus, came up with in the last week. He was allegedly telling Volodymyr Zelensky, hey, agree with this proposal, end the war, so that way you don't lose all of Ukraine. I think it's in Ukraine's best interest to agree to this. Zelensky pretty much coming out and saying, take a hike, we're not going to agree to that. Now, also military news UA, Russia's using tankers to launch drones over European countries. There is intelligence information, says Zelensky. The president added that Russia is also trying to create a blackout in Ukraine this year. This was video footage of Zelensky here speaking today. But yeah, this is what he was stating, that apparently Russia is using fuel tankers in the Baltic Sea to launch these drones over European nations. This is something he stated 2 times over the last week, actually. And he said that Russia is planning to create a blackout inside of Ukraine. So just like I mentioned earlier with that strike on the thermal power plants, I think that's a major response to warn Putin, don't even think about striking our critical energy infrastructure. We'll do the same thing back to you. But yeah, just kind of commenting on these drones as well, that there is credible intelligence information that the Russians are using their shadow fleet of vessels to launch these drones over Europe. And again, what is the whole point of that? What are they doing? They've got to be monitoring sensitive sites. And what are they preparing for? Now, Max 25, Ukraine offers Poland and partners to create a joint shield against air threats, says Zelensky. Trump's position is truly balanced. He supports Ukraine's position as he seeks peace. Russia will not establish new borders in Ukraine. Ukraine must join the EU, and it will do so. Russia has failed to destabilize Moldova, and its subversive influence will not spread further. Yeah, we'll talk about Moldova here in just a minute towards the end of this video. But these were just other statements that Zelensky was making today. They plan to join the EU. Russia will not establish new borders in Ukraine. They're not going to be claiming any of this territory that they control as their own. And then also talking about, Donald Trump as well, that apparently he supports Ukraine. So that's very good to see. We continue to see good relations between Trump and Zelensky. And also talking about this joint shield for Poland. We've been talking about the fact that Poland and Ukraine is going to be working together a lot in the near future here to create more defensive capabilities for Poland after that drone attack that took place a few weeks back. Now, as a defender, U.S. President Donald J. Trump has authorized Ukraine to carry out long-range drone and missile strikes against targets inside Russia, though some strikes will require additional approval from the Pentagon. White House Special Envoy Keith Kellogg has told Fox News. Yeah, Keith Kellogg was on Fox News, I think it was just yesterday, when he stated this, that apparently Ukraine has been given the authorization to strike targets deep inside of Russia. And that makes me think they've already got some missiles from the U.S. That they could possibly use to strike deep over there. So is it Tomahawk missiles? Is it some sort of these like JASSM extended range missiles that we've been hearing about? Could be different types of missiles that I think Ukraine is preparing to strike Russia with to force an end to this war and start slamming major targets deep inside of Russia, like drone facilities, critical decision-making centers. We've even been hearing reports that Ukraine might strike Moscow as well. So I think that's coming next. It really seems like that, especially with reports like that. Now, Kyiv Independent, Trump to make final determination on supplying Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles as Russia refuses peace talks, Vance says. Yeah, Vance was on, I think it was Fox News yesterday. He was also on an interview, and that's what he stated, that Trump will make the final determination whether Ukraine will receive Tomahawk missiles. And he's been claiming also that Russia is refusing peace talks. So I think that, this is going to be the next strategy from the Trump administration. Allow Ukraine to start striking Russia to force the peace to end this war, inside of Ukraine. Now, from Visioner, if Ukraine is supplied with Tomahawk-type cruise missiles, nothing will change on the front, says Dmitry Peskov. Let us remind you that the flight range of Tomahawk-type cruise missiles is over 1,500 kilometers, which will allow full coverage of the western and central regions of Russia. Yeah, so that's true. These Tomahawk missiles, if Ukraine receives them, they could strike all kinds of different airfields and critical targets inside of Russia. And Russia has a lot of military installations located on the western side of their country. And then on top of that, there's Moscow and the Kremlin too, right? This is what Peskov said. The Kremlin spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, he stated that there will be no change on the front line, even if Ukraine receives Tomahawk. So isn't that interesting? He's not stating anything like they were just like a year ago, that, hey, if these missiles strike our territory, it's World War III, we'll use nuclear weapons. If you guys remember that, he didn't claim anything about that. He's just like saying, well, if you hit us with Tomahawks, nothing's going to change. Go ahead. It's kind of what I see from that, which is interesting coming out from the Kremlin. Now, Visioner breaking. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian foreign minister is making a very important hint. From today, there will be no safe place in Russia. Ukraine's weapons will reach any Russian military facility, said Andriy Sybiha. Presumably, Ukraine is buying or has already purchased American long-range cruise missiles, JASSM or JASSM-ER Tomahawk, or has started serial production of ballistic missiles locally. So interesting hint coming out from the foreign minister, Andriy Sybiha, saying from today, there will be no safe place inside of Russia. Ukraine's weapons will reach any Russian military facility. So imagine that. That means that they have the ability to reach way deep into Russia. They're talking about any facility. It makes me wonder if even their Far East they could attack as well. That would mean, more than maybe 2,500 kilometers deep into Russia. So who knows what Ukraine has up their sleeve right now? But I've been stating this for several months now, maybe since June or July, that very soon Ukraine's going to start slamming Russian targets with these missiles. And we know they're receiving potentially thousands of different types of missiles right now from the U.S. NATO's buying a lot of these for Ukraine as well. And they could be hitting some major critical targets inside of Russia with these missiles very soon. Now, NOAA reports Russia's refused meetings with Ukraine, even with Trump's participation, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said. According to him, in recent weeks, Moscow rejected both bilateral talks with Kyiv and trilateral meetings involving Trump or other U.S. officials. So yeah, this was Vance also speaking on Fox News yesterday, and that's what he stated, that, the Kremlin is rejecting so many different meetings right now, bilateral, trilateral with Trump included. They don't want to agree to any meetings at all, and we know that Putin has not been wanting to meet with Zelensky, and he doesn't even want to meet with Trump and Zelensky at the same time. So that explains why we're seeing this change from the Trump administration. They realize because Vladimir Putin does not want to negotiate anymore, well, they got to move to Plan B. And I think Plan B is force Russia to negotiate by destroying their military and their critical military installations. So I think, like I said earlier, that's coming next. Now for Maya Sandu, this could be the president of Moldova. Moldovan people have spoken. Sunday's election results are clear. The Moldovans are united in our desire for peace, democracy, and Europe, and in the courage to defend them. This is not just a party's victory, it is Moldova's victory. The European path is our way forward. So this was a major statement from Maya Sandu. Just want to give you an update on Moldova. We did talk about this late last week, that the upcoming elections in Moldova were possibly going to be flipped, and Moldova could become pro-Russia. But apparently her pro-EU party has won, and that safeguards Moldova and also Ukraine, because she was warning last week also that if the Russians were to take control over Moldova, they could possibly create Moldova as a springboard for attacks onto Ukraine's Odessa region, which is right next door to Moldova. So that's very good news to see that Russia has lost their influence over Moldova, at least temporarily for right now, as the pro-EU party has won the election over here, or her party has, over in Moldova. So very good news to see. Now, Blizkovka, air defense forces of Ukraine shot down, suppressed 23 out of 32 Russian UAVs. 9 attack drones were recorded at 8 locations. The attack continues with new groups of attack UAVs entering from the north and east. So look at that, only 32 drones after more than 500 were fired from Saturday going into Sunday. And then, just last night, only 32, and 23 of those being shot down. So very good coming out from Ukraine. Not a whole lot of destruction being reported from last night, aside from Saturday going into Sunday with that massive attack. So it looks like the Russians used up all their inventory of drones, considering we only saw 30 going into Ukraine last night. Now, Kyiv Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of September 29th, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Our final update here. Russia's losses as of September 29th, 1,080 troops, 0 AFVs, 111 vehicles and fuel tanks, 7 tanks, 53 artillery systems, 617 UAVs, 1 MLRS, 43 cruise missiles, 1 anti-aircraft warfare system, and 2 special equipment. Wow, so lots being destroyed here. 2 special equipment. We had an air defense system also being destroyed. Look at that, 43 cruise missiles from that massive attack from Russia over the weekend. 617 UAVs, that's a lot of drones being shot down. 1 multiple launch rocket system. We've been seeing about 1 or 2 of these for several weeks now. 53 artillery systems up a little bit today. 7 tanks, that's one of the largest numbers we've seen, closer to 10 over the past few weeks now. And vehicles and fuel tanks, 111, right about average. We've been seeing right about 100 or so here. No AFVs being destroyed, but 1,080 troops. I've been noticing ever since yesterday the troop losses jumped up a little bit. I think yesterday was over 1,100, today close to 1,100. So looks like the Russians are trying to attack more along the front line and taking more heavy losses. So crazy amount of news today, guys. I want to thank you so much for your patience. I understand it was a longer video, but I hope you guys all have a great day out there. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section, but that's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell, that way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.